Hello, reader, and thank you for joining me for another Morpheme Monday. Today, we're going to be looking at the suffix ly, which is usually pronounced ly. As we get started, though, let's remember what a suffix is. A suffix is a word part or a morpheme that's added to the end of a root or base word that changes its meaning. The suffix ly usually means in a certain way or like. When you add ly to an adjective, it can actually do a couple things. It most often changes an adjective into an adverb. It's what it does most of the time. However, sometimes it can also form adjectives, meaning having the qualities of. When adding the suffix ly, there are some spelling rules that we have to remember, like in most suffixes. First, with most words, just add an ly and you're fine. However, if the adjective ends in a y, we change the y to I before adding ly. If the adjective ends in IC, add ALLY. So keep the IC, add ALLY. And if the adjective already ends in LE, drop the E and add Y. These are very similar to some of the rules we already use. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. We see somebody running a race. I see some people behind them. She's obviously winning. So how is she running? Do you think she's running in a quick way or a slow way? Probably quick. So if somebody's running in a quick way, what would our new word be? Quickly. That's right, because quickly means she ran in a quick way. She had to win the race. I see somebody beating some pans with some wooden spoons. Do you think they're being quiet? They're not. They're being noisy. So if she's beating those in a noisy way, what would our new word be? Noisily. Now, noisy ends in Y. So we had to change that Y to I and add ly. You see that right here. Next, noisily means she is playing in a noisy way. Now, I see somebody in a play. Now, when you're in a play, if you've ever been in a play, you have to be very dramatic. Now, because it makes it interesting and fun to watch. It makes your performance that way, at least. So if you're performing in a dramatic way, what would the new word be? Dramatically. And of course, dramatic ends in IC, so we know we have to add ALLY. Because dramatically means doing it in a dramatic way. So let's practice a few of these before we bring this to an end. If somebody is being like a friend, what's our new word? And how do we spell it? Friendly, that's right, because they're being like a friend. What if it's easy? What's our new word? Yes, easily, but it ends in Y, so what do? I add an I and I change the Y to I and I add ly. What if somebody's being heroic? Heroically is correct, but it ends in IC, so what do I add? ALLY, that's correct. And our last one, if something is possible, in a certain way it's being possible, what would it be? Possibly. Ends in E, and it ends in LE, so we drop the E and we add ly. Or we drop the LE to make ly. So that's it. If you can come up with another word that ends with a suffix ly, put the word, what it means, and a sentence with it in the comments below. And until next time, happy reading.